you very much. For this edition, November 13th, for a regular meeting. We welcome all of you, for dignitaries in particular. Miss Wendy, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ed.
My
Thank you.
ears for myself. But do they fly you in?
No, I am still in Minnesota. We
Okay.
haven't left.
All right. And so, with that said, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any announcements? Oh, we got, oh, good. Hey, okay, I'm getting. Are there any announcements?
It's another job for Speak 710 nearby.
You want to make sure Rick
Here's the
oh, I will.
button.
Rick, are you with us?
Together.
Yes, I'm
Quick
here.
question. Oh, it's good to see you, Rick. Seriously.
Yes, hi Ed.
That doesn't look like a
And everyone.
typical Las Vegas, room. Right?
Say again,
Never
please.
been in a lot. That doesn't look like a typical Las Vegas room.
Oh, you're right. It's a private residence.
Oh, that's convenient.
Mhm,
Thank you, sir. Thank
mhm.
you for joining us. Okay, not hearing anything further. Is Rick the only gentleman with us or person that's?
Yep, Mr. President.
Okay, very good. So, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's a moved and seconded.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
It is approved. Oh, yeah. Do we have to,
Call the roll.
All right, let's do that. Just to be fair, and proper. Okay,
Manager Willie Markstrom. Aye.
very good, sir.
Manager Pereira, aye.
Manager Marchand, aye.
Manager Brock, aye.
Rick Geldman, aye.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have to follow that format. Let's see. Okay, public forum, anybody wishing to speak? Don't think about it. I'm kidding. We're gonna give you all the chance. If you want to talk about something, coming up to the particular agenda items, I have a feeling from some of the people that I recognize that we're gonna talk about some of these things that are looming in our future. Okay, all right, so with that said, not hearing anything, I'd like to move to the agenda issue. And do any of the managers have any items that they want pulled from the consent calendar?
I would like to pull item E, please.
Oh, okay, very good, sir. Right? Where'd Savannah go? Why? Do we require, is Rick allowed to make motions? Yeah.
Yes, Mr. President, the law changed and proper posting was done.
Rick, would you like to make a motion about the consent calendar?
Sure, I would like to approve. I would like the managers to approve. Just I can't see all of the consent items except for number E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Armstrong, aye.
Pereira, aye. Andrew Marchand, aye.
Manager Brock, aye.
Rick Geldman, aye.
Okay, the consent calendar is approved. Let's immediately go to item E. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay.
What's going on?
Item E, I mainly wanted to just make a comment. I was pleased to see the information provided on the salt application, having a map of what is going on there is helpful. I would ask though that in the future, if possible, we can ask applicants or the permit holders to include information about the direction of flow of the water, of the runoff, in the winter time when the snow and the location of the snow piles. Where is the snow going to be stored on the site? That's useful information, not necessarily just for us, but also for the applicant. So that, they kind of understand that's part of, excuse me, what we're asking them to do.
Very good, sir. Do you have anything further? Because I would like to ask our engineer to get on that, sir.
Will do.
Very good. Thank you. Continue, Rick.
Cool, and then I would make a motion to pass consent item E.
I will second that motion.
Armstrong, aye.
Rivera, aye. Andrew Marchand, aye.
And Braddock, aye.
Rick Geldman, aye.
It is approved. Okay, the consent calendar is squared away. Item, updates and requests from partners, volunteers, and citizens advisory committee. Is there anybody from any citizen advisory committee that would like to add something for our meeting? Diane. I'm kidding. I got that. Not hearing anything. Let's move to business and reports. For 2025, point intercept aquatic plant survey at Long Way, et cetera, et cetera. Ms. Mag, you're on the floor.
You,
Please.
looking for that Harvard. I can speak about it. Oh, there we go. To present to you the results of the intercept aquatic plant surveys completed by Valley River Watershed District in 2025. Aquatic plants are indicators of lake health. They're important because aquatic plants reflect overall lake health. They provide insights not only during the surveys, but over time since they remain in the lake. And if something had happened last week, they were there and you'll either help them or hurt them. We learn by comparing current and past plant data if lake conditions are improving, declining, stable, and whether specific action should be taken to either better understand changes or to prevent degradation. Tonight's goal is to present data as a check for the Valley Ranch Watershed District lakes. The map on the slide shows the lakes that were monitored in 2025. Silver, Long, as well as Catherine Abbott Pond to the north, Lake Demontreville, Lake Olson, Lake Jane, and Lake Elmo. The native plant community were doing great in 2025. Every one of the lakes met DNR's plant beautification IBI criteria, indicating not only that the plant communities were healthy, but the lakes had good water quality also. All of the communities had good plant diversity, and all of the communities were relatively stable. Lake Jane had no significant frequency changes in native species between 2024 and 2025. Long Lake, Lake Olson, Lake Elmo, and Silver Lake did have some significant frequency changes, but they were within historic variation. Plant communities do just naturally change a bit from year to year. So we look at this historic variation. And if it's within that, no problem. They're just being what they are. Lake Demontreville had a significant increase in a good plant, Nitella, in 2025. And its highest frequency to date was observed. But since it's a good plant and it's a native plant, that was just fine. The picture shows a rake sample of Kira, a good plant in Lake Demontreville. Next.
That's a good plan.
Kira's a good plant. Some people get a little excited if there's more of it than they care for, but it is a healthy plant and it's actually, it looks like a regular plant, but it's in the algae family, which means sucking nutrients out of the water and helping the water quality every day. So We like that. I have some really great news to share with everybody tonight about the Eurasian water milfoil, hybrid water milfoil. So we've been talking about that every year for a very long time, but tonight, 3 lakes did not have any observed in 2025. Silver Lake, Lake Demontreville, and Lake Olson. None observed due to the very successful treatment. So we're pretty excited. 3 out of 6 clean. Of the others, Long Lake only had 0.2 acres. Now, when we started, 97% of the plant growing area in the lake was just sucked in with so much of it. Alan shake his head. Yeah, I remember that. So 0.2 acres, and the Lake Association treated it in September, so we could be gone by next year. Lake Jane only had 0.3 acres, and they plan to treat that in the spring of 2026. Lake Elmo had 13 acres in June, and they went out and treated 7 of those acres with herbicide in July. Lake Elmo has kind of struggled because they have a funding gap. They don't have enough money to pay the cost of treating all of the milfoil in the lake. But I do remember when Lake Elmo had 80 acres of milfoil, to have 13 and to be able to treat 7, they've made progress over time, and we commend them for that.
Quickly, Don, DNR, health, whatever. Anybody got one? Beyond
Well, I can answer that. Not really. We do apply for a DNR grants each year out of the monies available. Last year, we were not picked. They picked them at random, apparently, and we were not picked at random before the money ran out. This year, the application window is open again, and so fingers crossed, but
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, this year they have more money.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. I mean, part of the problem with the DNR is that their funding. They just don't have, there's so many lakes throughout the state,
I get it.
not only in the metro, but it's throughout the state, dealing with a lot of different invasive species. So as budgets have been cut, so has the funding for the DNR for us to apply. But I heard that the DNR is applying for money through the lottery company. That's what I.
Oh, okay.
So there's a better chance that there'll be more monies available for the Lake Association than people are thinking.
That would have been my answer.
Yeah.
So you could swamp the entire department's budget if you went after invasive species everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I saw an email just within the last 2 days that the grant is open right now through December 7th or 8th. Yeah. Well, there's just over $1 million available, but that's statewide.
Yeah.
So how far does that go with 10,000 a lake? 10,000 plus lakes, right?
Exactly.
So, but that was the numbers I saw. So, yeah, it's out there. We just all need to put our apps in right now and we'll see what happens with it.
Very excited that Lake Elmo has worked, the Lake Elmo Lake Association worked very hard this year, and I helped them all in a little bit here and there to apply for a 3M PFAS settlement priority 2 grant. And if they get the money, they set forth to do a 3-year program, treat everything the first year, and then if there are any survivors in year 2 and year 3, to go out and nail them. And the goal is by 2028 to have Lake Elmo free of milfoil and joining the Silver Lake, Lake Demontreville, and Lake Olson in the clean lake form.
And the PFAS is another issue.
That's another unrelated issue, but
Okay.
because of the grant, the money that 3M paid, some of it needed to be put in an environmental grant fund and for lakes in this area that was impacted, and Lake Elmo Lake Association, they were on it. They said, all right, let's apply. And if we're so fortunate as to be chosen, that would bridge the funding gap, and we can once and for all get rid of the milfoil in Lake Elmo.
Can I just make 2 comments on that? The first is that if there was something that we could do, about because if there was a treatment that we could help with on, we very well could have written a grant request for that as well, but there simply isn't. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, thank you, John, so much, because you wrote a wonderful letter of support for that grant, as you know, as did some other agencies, but John wrote just, particularly good letter.
Thank you, Valley Branch Board.
Thank you.
You have good employees.
Yes, you signed it, I think.
We're going on to the next slide. We also have some really exciting news in the area of Curly Leaf Pondweed. No Curly Leaf Pondweed in Silver Lake, Lake Demonchville, and Lake Olson this year. The three lakes that didn't have ratio and milk roll didn't have Curly Leaf Pondweed either. And that was from their previous successful treatments to get rid of it. And then, as we saw earlier, the native plant community is wonderful. They got rid of invasives, they protected the natives. Those lakes are in great shape.
Very quickly, the Turian concern, is that a concern at all?
Turians are always concerning when they're in the lake because they're going to grow new curly leaf pondweed plants. And so even though we didn't see any curly leaf pondweed in these lakes this year, if there are Turians in sediment, they'll come back and they'll need to be vigilant. And as they come back, just keep treating them. And the goal is, if they see plants, treat them before they make any new Turian. Eventually, the Turians in the sediment will be used up and gone. That's how you work with it.
So it's ongoing.
It's ongoing, yes. Unlike the milk roll, if you truly get rid of it, I mean, it's not making Turian. Although a hybrid can make seeds, and that's a whole story we'll not get into tonight. But unfortunately, the other three lakes saw increases in curly pondweed, which is a little concerning. They'll need to be very vigilant about dealing with the curly leaf. Lake Elmo curly leaf increased from 3 acres in 2024 to 7 in 2025, and lawn from 0.6 to 8 acres, and Lake Jane from 2 acres to 10. So the lake associations, and we'll all be watching that for further developments. Next slide. Long Lake has a DNR approved lake vegetation management plan, which requires them to do a Turion survey of each plot. The map shows the 50 locations where the samples are collected. 2 samples are collected from each location. The sampler does one sample on each side of his boat. A Turion is pictured up at the top right, and the sampler used to collect those Turion samples, which the Turions fall to the bottom, so down in the sediment, is shown there. Long Lake, Turions went up in 2025, kind of consistent with, we saw more curly leaf pondweed acres and we saw more Turions. First we looked at number of locations. 34% of the locations had Turions in 2024 compared to 60% in 2025. Numbers of Turions, we collected a total of 33 in 2024 compared to 110 this year. And the average density of Turions changed from 14 Turions per square meter in 2024 to 47 in 2025.
Very quickly, what is the Poner sediment sampler?
If you look at this picture there, you can see that they pulled it back up and kind of fastened it in a way where they drop it down to the bottom and it kind of gets a chunk. And then they send what they call the messenger. It's this metal thing that the rope, there's a hole in the middle, the rope goes through, and you drop it and it hits that sampler and a spring goes, and then those sides come around and it just kind of closes it up. And now you have a chunk of sediment. Bring it up to the surface. You dump your sediment in a sieve, and you go out in the lake and splash water on it, and sediment goes back down to the bottom. And what you have left in the sieve is Turions. Put them in a bag and take them back to the lab to count them.
Gold.
Turions.
I think we saw it.
Yes. Okay, next slide. We saw a few other invasive plants in the lakes. Reed canary grass increased in Lake Demonchville, Lake Olson, and Lake Jane. We would encourage the lake associations to remove it. Narrowleaf cattail, that's found in all the lakes. We advise monitoring just to keep an eye on it. We didn't see anything concerning. Yellow iris, that pretty flower that you see in the picture that can spread and cause all kinds of trouble. was found in Lake Demontreville, Lake Olson, and Silver Lake. Homeowners are encouraged to remove it. There is a tendency for homeowners that don't understand that that's an invasive plant can cause a lot of trouble. They like to mow around it and think it looks so pretty until it takes over their yard and the roots are there and you just can't deal with it. And you wish you would have taken it out when it was just that little bunch. Next slide. Fact was present only in Lake Jane at a single location, and it wasn't considered a problem. Seems pretty stable, just stays there. Common reed found along the southern and southeastern shores of Lake Elmo. You know, for years we talked about we should do something about it. We should treat it. Now this year we had the problem of, you know, too many cooks spoil the stew, too many people wanting to treat it, and you end up with a problem. So Washington Conservation District had a Minnesota Department of Agricultural grant. John talked with them, and they were going to treat it. They're going to roll it in and use their grant money to treat it. Now they are in collaboration with the statewide program, the U of M DNR Phragmites Removal Program. They've been in collaboration. They do that every year. And the state program wanted them to treat some smaller areas in the county, but they said, you know, we'd really like to do Lake Elmo in our program, but we're not sure if we're going to get to it. So why don't you plan on doing it? And if we can get to it, we'll let you know, and then we'll go in and do it. So Washington Conservation District had treated 3 of the sites when staff reviewed an email, which I believe President Marchand and Valley Branch Watershed District Engineer Hanson and I also received, saying that they were going to treat it in late October. So Washington Conservation District saw that and said, oh, I guess, I mean, they said they want to do it if they could fit it in. So we'll just stop our treatment. And they talked with Chelsea and said, okay, we treated 3 sites, but we'll just stop and let your program do it. Unfortunately, the contractor for the state program ran into some difficulties that delayed it, and the weather got cold and frost killed the plants. Now, the deal is you need to apply the herbicide while the plants are alive, so they take it in and take it down to the roots and kill the roots. The frost may kill the plants, but the roots live on to grow a new plant next year. And so Chelsea let us know. So sad, we didn't treat it because the weather.
Very quickly, I understand what method to remove is burn, but that's like when you do an upland or something, they grow back, right?
I think it will grow back because the roots are kind of like my daylilies. Every year we get new plants. And so in order to get rid of it, you really do need to treat it with the chemical while it's alive, and it takes that chemical into the roots, kills the roots, and then it's gone. Washington Conservation District plans to treat it next year with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture grant. After this experience, they will collaborate with the state program, but they're strongly leaning toward doing it themselves next year. We have some recommended management action. We recommend that the Valley Branch Watershed District post the 2025 Point Intercept Plant Surveys report to the district's website, inform interested lake residents, DNR staff, Ramsey County staff, Washington County staff, and U of M staff of its availability. Authorize BAR to once again provide technical support for aquatic invasive species management upon request from the Valley Branch Watershed District Lake Organization. Support may include responding to inquiries and providing requested information, facilitating meetings between the Lake Association representatives and DNR staff to discuss the 2026 treatment for Eurasian water milfoil, hybrid water milfoil, curly pondweed. Assist the Lake Organization with DNR permitting treatment designs for 2026 treatments. Support any Minnesota DNR required monitoring efforts, including the curly pondweed terrain surveys, and prepare and submit any DNR required post-treatment reporting. With that, I'll take any questions.
Fun. It's always a pleasure to hear you, please.
Hang on. So to treat the invasive that's on the south end of Lake Elmo Lake, they do it in October. Is that because as the plant is dying off, it pulls the chemical down into the root? Or is it, I mean, can it be treated like September or
I think they prefer to treat it in the fall, September to October. I think they started, the state program, I think they start probably in September and then move into October. And I have unfortunately forgotten the reason why they do it in the fall rather than, but I can look that up and send you.
yeah,
I know one of the things Washington Conservation District did during the summer is they went out and they did some mowing to kind of knock down any dead stems and after they mow, just so that there is better contact of the live plants with the herbicide when they come through in the fall to treat it, so.
Very quickly, I'm going to direct this question to John. That is sanctioned by the county. WC does it for a fee from the county.
Mr. President, I believe that they have a grant, like Meg said, through the Department of Ag, so
Okay.
they have the county's permission since it's on county park land.
Done with the, and what about the bigger one?
Well, first, do the managers want
Yeah.
to take action?
So.
Before you take action, I have a question.
Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, Meg, you, I believe in the report, we're talking about, bearded stonewort is in, Long Lake. And, I'm wondering what the concern is there in terms of it spreading to other lakes. And how is it being how potentially will it be treated in Long Lake?
Okay, President Marchand, Manager Geltman. Bearded stonewort is a plant that I don't know if they have fully figured out, is it native or is it invasive? That was a big controversial discussion DNR has had. It appeared about 2012 or so. It was first found in Westwood Lake over on the other side of town, and then it's been popping up. But because it is not identified as an invasive species, DNR is leaning toward it's probably native, and we just haven't noticed it. Having said that, it's my impression from seeing where it has appeared in a number of different lakes in some situations, it has really gone and taken over lake systems. But again, there's nothing you can do about it because unless it's an invasive species, you're not allowed to take it out of the lake. Long Lake, it is spread a little bit, but it's not a problem in the lake, I don't think.
It was less this year than we had in the past couple of years. And I would agree with you that it did pop up about 2012. About the same time as the Starry Stonewort came out. As my son says, the hardwood plants. So not to confuse it with that one, the Starry Stonewort versus the bearded stonewort. It is not it doesn't seem to be a problem or like overly popular. Unrealistic. Loving the fact that it doesn't have no point to compete with at this point.
So Rick, I don't think there's really any concern. We're just kind of watching this plant, and it's in a few lakes. I think it's in Olson as well as yours. It's in a few lakes around the city, not that many. In most of the cases, it just kind of blends in with the other plants and doesn't do much. There are a couple of lakes in which it has really gone crazy. They were very small, shallow lakes. And it seems to have really kind of taken over. But in those situations, one is a lake completely within a nature center, so it doesn't impede recreation. And the other is a pond that always kind of surrounded by cattails. It's really not used for recreation. So in those situations, it hasn't really caused harm. It's just changed the plants a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's more of a hold and wait, see what happens.
Yes.
Mhm.
Other questions, Rick?
No, that's good. Thank you, Ed.
Okay, I hope you're comfortable in that room. Very good, sir. I haven't gotten back the same, you're still in the Lord, but that's fine. And so, if no one has anything else, we have something here from the special manager action, counselor. Do we need to, make this a motion, or can we direct our engineer?
So the direction, you could just direct. It does not require a motion. If you want to authorize our engineer, the second chunk that I think is probably worth a motion.
Really? Okay. So do I need to, say that out loud, or ask John to, need to recite it?
Well,
That's fine.
so, all right, so I think the way the motion could be structured is, that the motion is right,
Mhm.
to authorize bar engineering
Item 2, section A, B, C, D, and E.
the requesting manager actions outlined in paragraph 2 of the memorandum. Submitted November 6, 2025.
I like that. Okay, so first, I'm going to direct our engineer to follow with item 1. So, sir. And item 2, I will make a motion to authorize VAR to provide technical support and the contents of that entire section. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Armstrong, aye.
Manager Marchand, aye.
Clark, aye.
Gelbman, aye.
Okay. It passed. We will follow through with that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for your help, as usual. At first, I thought it was gonna be a horror show, but it's happening to us. Some very positive things there, and I want to stay on top of this. So,
Now we're gonna go on to topic 2.
okay.
You get a bonus tonight. I get to stay for 2 presentations.
Yeah.
Zebra mussels were found in Long Lake a year ago, the first of the Valley Branch Watershed District lakes to find them. And through memorandums, I provided some updates to the managers over the past year. And tonight I'm coming in person to give you an update on the zebra mussel situation. In my presentation, I'll look at some background information, DNR villager sampling results, Ramsey County villager sampling results, some communications about DNR permitting. And then we'll walk through some ideas for a zebra mussel related monitoring program additions that the managers have asked to just consider. And the requested manager action will be to consider this monitoring program. The picture shows zebra mussel villagers from Lake Demontreville this past summer. Villagers are the baby zebra mussels. They're microscopic in size. This was a picture taken under a microscope by a DNR staff person. Next. Again, zebra mussels were discovered in Long Lake, and that picture is the very first zebra mussel that was found in Long Lake. After that discovery, engineer Valley Branch Watershed District Engineer Hansen and I had a number of meetings and conversations with DNR staff to talk about what do we do about it? What are the next steps? Initially, DNR were considering whether they would permit removal by chemical treatment to prevent spread to downstream lakes. They decided no, not outside of a research project. Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center was about to select a lake for a chemical treatment research project. And so DNR presented Long Lake as a candidate lake along with the other lakes they were considering. In March, I presented to the managers some options, including the DNR's recommendation that if Long Lake wasn't selected, that Valley Branch submit a request for approval of essentially a zebra mussel management plan. Well, Long Lake wasn't selected. Lake Riley in southwestern part of the metro area was a selected lake. So the managers had directed Bar to submit that request for approval of a zebra mussel management plan if the lake wasn't selected. So on April 23rd, we did submit that. The DNR thought about it for a good long while. And in June, I received a message from DNR saying they were unwilling to approve a management plan unless they had additional data to determine the extent of the infestation. Next. To do that, DNR staff set forth on a villager sampling mission. They collected samples from Long Lake to Montraville, Olson, the stream connecting Long Lake to Lake Demontreville. And they had their staff analyze the samples in Long Lake. They had 2 stations. One had none, one had 7. In the stream from Long to Demontreville, they found 4. And at the inlet to Demontreville, they found 4. In Demontreville, at one location, they found 2. At the second one, 5. Lake Olson, they found 3. It concluded the low numbers suggest a very new infestation, but the fact that villagers are there said the zebra mussels are reproducing. They then went out on July 28th to sample Lake Jane and Lake Elmo. Lake Jane, one station had 0, one had 1. Elmo, one had 2, one had 4. They concluded zebra mussels had spread all the way from Long Lake to Lake Elmo. And they definitely would not permit a management plan, approve a management plan or permit anything to be done about it. They wanted to just proceed with the Lake Riley research project to understand how effective the chemical treatment was at fully removing zebra mussels and any possible effects on the lake. Next. Ramsey County has a villager sampling program for Ramsey County lakes, and on July 29th, collected 3 samples from 3 locations in Silver Lake, and yay, no villagers observed. The lake seems to be free of them as of yet. Next. About permitting, I did send an email to DNR staff, kind of asking the question under what conditions or circumstances would the DNR be willing to permit chemical treatment to fully remove zebra mussels from the 5 lakes in Valley Range Watershed District. And they said, we don't know when, in parentheses, if we would permit chemical treatment for full removal on an operational basis outside of a research project. Right now, they let me it clear that they're working with the research project to fully understand a lot of things about chemical treatment.
Very quickly. Not to get into the weeds on this one, but this is essentially a copper sulfate treatment.
It's a copper treatment.
Copper.
It's a copper-based compound. And what happens is the zebra mussels just really have a hard time getting rid of the copper in their bodies compared to all of the other living things in the lake. So they put a low dose of it in there. And like the fish and all the other living things, they just get rid of it and they're fine. It kind of builds up and kills them. So that's the premise behind why they can use that and protect everything else and still fully remove the zebra mussels.
So ongoing research, they haven't concluded that it is fully effective.
Depends on, if you ask the Minnesota DNR, it's ongoing research. If you ask the supplier of the product, he'll show you the whole lake treatments occurring in other states that fully removed it and the data that says it did, the zooplankton were fine, algae were fine, everything was fine. It was fully removed and it hasn't been seen again. So each state, when they're presented with the opportunity, needs to go through their own process. And we know that Minnesota is especially careful in the environmental area. And so from their perspective, we haven't done this before. We want to be careful. We're starting with a research project by Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center. That team is working on Lake Riley, collecting lots of data. And so after the communication from the DNR, John and I met with a member of the research project team, Olivia. And we asked her questions about DNR permitting another zebra mussel treatment. And she said, definitely unlikely to permit one until this project is done. And she gave us a timeline. She said, it'll probably be at least 5 years before they think about permitting one, because they said, we're gonna treat Lake Riley in 2026. We're gonna have 2 years of post-treatment monitoring. It'll probably take us a year to analyze the data, we're gonna report out. And then it's probably gonna take the DNR at least a year to assess the report, the results, and think about policy. What, is this good enough to put this into operation, or do we need another research project?
So
They're multiplying.
sure these folks are exactly, and that's where it's going. So while the horror grows, how fast?
And that brings us to the next slide. Yes, well, female zebra mussel can produce 1 million eggs a year, but not all of them are going to grow into big adult zebra mussels. Fortunately, there is some fatalities along the way. Each zebra mussel can filter up to 1 quart of water every day and take all the algae out to eat it. That's a lot.
You must not have very many, then we have lots of ambiguous with it.
Yeah, you do have low numbers yet. So we know what we expect to happen is as the zebra mussels go up in numbers, they're going to keep consuming algae and compete with the zooplankton for the algae. What we saw in Medicine Lake over in the west end of town, they've had zebra mussels since 2017. And when I compared 2016 phytoplankton data with 2024, we saw a 50% decline in phytoplankton numbers, down half. We also saw declines in the zooplankton. The tiniest of zooplankton, the rotifers, zebra mussels can actually eat them. The rest of them also declined because less food, less zooplankton numbers. And of course, we know the crappies and the sunfish are eating the zooplankton, so if there's less food for them, their growth is going to be slowed, and it kind of cascades up the chain. And it's not a good thing. So one of the things that John and I were calling this particular research person about was we were starting early to ask about, well, would you consider another research project? We called it a multi-system research project, as in treating all of the lakes. And we said, you know, Silver doesn't have any of that remains. You have a control lake, you have 5 lakes. And of course, research projects pay for the treatment. So we're thinking ahead that would be just wonderful. And unfortunately, this particular individual is a graduate student pursuing a PhD. And she says, well, I'm going to do my PhD on this project and graduate. So I'm not interested. But so that didn't bear fruit. But I do think that the wisest path, which is expensive, is to add zebra mussel related monitoring to the present Valley Branch Watershed District program. First of all, your question, what's going to happen? How fast are they going to grow? We don't know, because we don't know the water quality. They need calcium to make their shells. Until we know how much calcium, we don't know, is there enough to survive, to thrive? What can it support? A lot of the lakes seem to have plenty of calcium, but we don't know unless we check that. What's the rate of increase? If we
Very quickly, the calcium content in the water, is it considered the lakes here that are affected? Do they have hard water? Or is it somewhat neutral? Does anybody know?
I don't remember. Do you remember, Meg?
Well, I think most of our lakes. The arrowhead is very soft. That's the place where I can end that scene. You know.
The question is the development, good water quality, which means the algae numbers are low relative to a lot of lakes. As zebra mussels come up, they're gonna be taking a lot of algae out. Is there a point where they're gonna stabilize and plateau or even crash? We've recently, at your meeting, in fact, one of your members there was talking about a lake where they came up, but then they crashed, and then after they crashed, they kind of stabilized at a lower level, and they weren't causing problems as of yet. So, collecting samples of adults and the villagers and tracking the rate increases would be very useful information to try to understand what's happening in the lakes. How fast are they coming up, and do they keep coming up? Do they stabilize and crash? What's the harm caused by the zebra mussels? We heard from the research team when we asked them pointed questions about why did you pick Riley rather than Long? We wanted to know, and we said data. That DNR said in order to get a permit to treat that research lake, you need to have data showing the harm they've caused the lakes. Phytoplankton and zooplankton data. What harm have they caused? And quite frankly, she said Lake Riley was the only lake on the list that had the data we needed to get a permit to do the project. So that's something key to think about. It's expensive, but at some point to start collecting that data. So if the opportunity presents itself to get a permit, we need to have that data. And we also want to kind of position the lakes to be competitive for research monies, research projects, if that makes sense. We understand that the research monies, like a lot of other things, are down, and they're looking for how they can get a bargain. If data were being collected routinely by Valley Branch, that is, the data would be needed for the project, Valley Branch would say, hey, we not only have past data, if you pick our lakes and pay for the treatments, we'll keep collecting data, and this project could be quite a bargain for you. So the program that I'm going to present to you, I actually talked to Diane, the head of the research project for Valley, who works with USGS. It's kind of a team effort. And I said, Diane, what monitoring program would you recommend for Valley Ranch Watershed District? And she sent me the program, and the program that I'm going to show you is that program. So I'm trying to give you the best positioning that I could going forward, so that if there is an opportunity for research monies or permission to treat, that you're ready to go with it, and you're not in a position where DNI says, well, we're going to need 5 years of data before to show the harm, and we're just not going to permit you to put that chemical in unless we've got a really good sound background data before you can do that. And so that's why I'm here tonight, to try to look for some opportunities to position yourself through this monitoring program. Next, we'll get right into the monitoring program. It is expensive, and I think the best way to proceed is in a partnership between the Watershed District and the Lake Associations. Now, we've just seen what that magnificent partnership did in Eurasian water milkweed management. You provided the technical support. They hired chemical applicators and paid for it. And together we have 3 lakes that are completely free, and the other 3 are headed that way. And so we've got a good thing going, and I'm suggesting that we continue that good thing to tackle yet another aquatic invasive species. In that partnership, the lake associations could purchase some equipment needed to collect these extra data, a water quality meter, a water bottle sampler, a zooplankton net. They already have volunteers collecting water samples, the CAMP program.
Very quickly, this is a low cost segment of the game plan. So that's something that the association can do, or do they require specialized personnel?
No, they can do, I can train those people. I have decades of experience taking citizens, training them up, and they go out and they do a great job. And this the skill necessary. It's just something you just need to be showing what to do. Basically, you're filling bottles and you have to drop the zooplate next to the bottom and bring it up to the top. Dump the zooplate in the bottle. This is things they can learn and do. And the suggestion is that under the technical support part the bar can play, we can train them. We can be there to answer questions, provide information, advise them, kind of the same kind of partnership we did with the other invasive species, and we can help them, and I know they can do it. I have a picture of a zebra mussel sampling plate. We would suggest that 10 volunteers per lake, hang them on their docks in the spring. We move them in the fall. So the lake associations, they're collecting, doing measurements with the water quality meter. They're filling bottles to send into the Met Council along with the camp sample. They have some extra bottles, extra parameters. The algae and the zooplankton samples, they go over to bar and I would take care of those. Have some zebra mussel sampling plates. We send those over to bar. We would analyze them. And with this program, we recommend that Valley Branch Watershed District provide a zebra mussel sampling place. We're getting ahead of myself in my next slide. We're going to talk about, why don't we go to the next slide, John? We'll just go right to that. Actually, it's another one. Well, that's okay. For the zebra mussel sampling plate analysis, we've used a special software developed by the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center, in which you disassemble, let's go back to the John, I'm sorry to keep going back and forth. We disassemble that thing. We've got these 4 squares. Disassemble it and lay them out. We take a picture of one side of the plate, turn it over, take a picture of the other, and then we input that into the software, and it will do the counts of the zebra mussels. The Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center developed it. They say it works great. We do a little quality assurance, quality control check-in to be sure it's, and that's really important because if you have 4 of those plates on 4 of those shelving things on a sampler and 2 sides, that's 8 times 5 per lake, that's 40 times 5 lakes, that's a couple hundred. Now, if we can just put it into the software and in 10 seconds have the number, that's pretty sweet. Doesn't cost you nearly as much money as if we used another one. And the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center said, we recommend you follow our specs exactly, use the same materials, do everything we did so that when you take the pictures and input it, it's going to work best. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Let's go to the next slide. We'll look at a little more detail. This picture shows the water quality meter that you just you put in the water, and then at every 3 feet top to bottom, it just spits out your numbers, particular oxygen, pH, specific conductance. Break them down and send them over to bar so we can record them. While the camp volunteer is collecting their usual sample, they fill an extra bottle for calcium, magnesium, copper, linolene, nitrate. I know the Watershed District had already planned to collect a couple of chloride samples per year. Under this program, the camp volunteers sample 7 times a year during May to September, and we would recommend a chloride sample each of those 7 events. Now, we're saying that the samples are 0 to 2 meters. So what we do is we have a jug with a spigot on it, and we have the water bottle sample. Can you go back to something twice? That. One more. Yeah, the water bottle sample. You drop it down just from the surface so that the top is at the surface, and you have this little messenger that triggers the spring, closes up, it has some water. Dump it in the jug. You go down 1 meter, pull it up, dump it in the jug. 2 meters, dump it in the jug. Put on the cover, shake it good. You've got a spigot there, just fill up your bottles, and you've got 0 to 2 meter composite samples. Like this could be. And that's much more representative than just, dipping the bottle somewhere. Phytoplankton is just another kind of bottle that you fill from that. Zooplankton net, you have to drop the net to the bottom and bring it up to the surface. And a couple of slides, we'll show a picture of that. So these are things that they can do. The one sample I recommend a professional collect is the villager sample. I recommend Washington Conservation District collect it. It's only collected once in July. That's the time when the zebra mussels kind of have their peak. Most villagers are in the lake, so that's the time you want to go out and collect it. And you need to collect it from 3 locations, a deep spot, and 2 locations downwind of it, which is why we want a professional outfit to kind of pick those spots. So you collect a sample at each of the 3 spots, you put them all together in a sample bottle, and R&D Labs up in Detroit Lakes is the place to analyze them. We send them up there. We already talked enough about the adult zebra mussel sampling. So that is the program. One other area that I think we should take a look at is there are 3 1007 connected waters that have not yet been sampled for zebra mussels. We don't know, are they there, are they not? So we would suggest for Eagle Point Lake, Horseshoe Lake, and Westoria Pond, have Washington Conservation District go in, fly, collect a sample, let's see, is it 0 or are there villagers there, just so we know. Next. But this whole program, even with all the hard work by the lake associations, doing all the labor, collecting it, the cost does add up. And we're talking about 5 lakes, so it's $45,000, a little more than $8,000 per lake. $43,000 for the additional monitoring the lakes with the confirmed zebra mussels, $2,000 for the villager monitoring, and the 3 that we don't know. And this is the zooplankton net, but you drop down to the bottom, volunteer, drop it down to the bottom, and you just bring it up to the top, and that little bucket thing at the bottom, you just, you have like a little rubber thing with a clip on it, and you put that into your bottle, undo the clip, zooplankton go into your bottle, and you're all set. Okay, next. So this is a lot of new information, kind of a big price tag. It's November and 2026 is just around the corner. So I don't know if this can work for Valley Branch Watershed District, but I'm extending it because the zebra mussels are there. And we don't know what they're going to do to the lakes. And I thought that the best way I could approach it would be to present the information and ask the managers to consider the monitoring program, and you may need time to think about it. You need a couple more meetings to think about it before making any kind of a decision, but I want to get the information to you. So the action is to consider the additional monitoring and collection of data related to zebra mussels, including at lakes with the confirmed zebra mussel villagers, collect additional water quality data, zebra mussel villager data, zebra mussel adult data, phytoplankton, zooplankton data, and the project 1007 connected waters not yet sampled, Eagle Point, Horseshoe, and Westoria Pond, consider monitoring zebra mussel. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
First of all, thank you very much. Number 2, big word in my mind, urgency. My thoughts are that we take care of these things. I have a nip it in the bud attitude. No, we see them. I'm sorry. You know what I'm here though. So give us your take, your professional opinion on the urgency. And I realize that it can fluctuate, that it might not be a big deal, that it might be a big deal. But we're looking for 0 tolerance, if we can, for all of these things that are water quality that we want to achieve or already have.
I consider it an urgent matter because of what they can do to the lakes. And although, the DNR now is like, we don't want to permit anything, but this research project, we don't know what changes could be. And I would like the Valley Branch Watershed District to position themselves to have the best possible chance of nipping this in the bud. I also feel that if the Valley Branch Watershed District does begin this program, that puts us in a position that we can start talking to Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center. The buzz is, would you consider a research project of a multi-system project where we have a control lake, Silver Lake, 5 different lakes with zebra mussels, they each have some differences and characteristics. Would you consider doing that. And by the way, the Valley Branch Watershed District is already collecting the data that you would want during, after, as well as before the project. And they'd be willing to partner with you and continue that data collection, making this project a bargain. And I think that's kind of what I am feeling, that I think we have so many lakes, and I think the treatment cost, I mean, we're talking, this is an expensive program, but the treatment cost, we already gave you an estimate for Long Lake way back a year ago, and that was pretty expensive, and Long Lake is not your biggest lake in this chain. So I kind of feel like, it is urgent, and we don't know how urgent until we start collecting the data to see, how the beaver mussels change and in numbers, how fast they go up. And it'll take them a while to get to a big problem, but it sure would be nice if by the time they're starting to show the problems, if we're in a position to nip it and not just at the starting gate looking for a multi-year data collection program before we can have any hope of change.
Your argument is compelling. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Amber. I'm from Silver Lake. I have some technical questions, so just bear with me. So, a big assumption of this plan is that Silver Lake remains zebra mussel free. But none of the plan includes any kind of additional boat launch monitoring campaigns to stop the transport including into the lakes that we are monitoring. So these mussels have already been brought in by boats and equipment. So we do also have an opportunity to stop more from coming in on top of monitoring what is there. But I haven't heard any discussion of that as well. It would be very painful to spend all this money to monitor and treat, to have someone else bring them back in on a boat if we're not doing any additional education, like anything like that. So that's my number one concern. Also, if we want to hedge our bets that silver could be used as a control, we have to make sure that it is not being infested. And we would probably want comparable data on the water quality to say it should be a control. So if we're going to collect the water quality data for the other 5, we probably want to add silver to say the water quality is the same. A couple of follow-up questions.
Thanks.
Okay. So the water quality monitoring sondes that you presented, would that be going to 1 per lake? And then would calibration solutions go with it, and who would do the annual monitoring of the sondes? Because that is also a hard step.
Yeah, I was suggesting to the Lake Association to each buy their own equipment because of the fact that zebra mussels, any type of sharing, you can very likely share some villagers, share some other things, and
Right.
And I said probably in this situation, each lake association buy their own equipment. And regarding, the calibration and that's where I think the technical assistance from Bar comes in to how we have our team that we have them obtain a meter just like our staff. But Bar that calibrate those meters for them. And we would work with the lake associations to be sure that they're intervals. And I would be reviewing the data. Review the data. And if there are any questions about the meters not functioning properly between that.
So, thank you, ma'am. You concluded your.
Oh, well, my last thought was, did you talk to the PhD students advisor or someone else at Mason? They probably be there.
Well, Diane, the head of the project, was not available at that. We were trying to get both of them. Diane wasn't available, and so for the questions that we had for her, we talked to her, and I did plan to do a follow-up with Diane, but I have not yet done that. I understand Diane was pretty busy with her project this past year. And now that the sampling season is winding down, I hope to catch up with Diane and begin talking with her about the multi-system project. And she is familiar with Long Lake. We were doing a lot of conversing with her about Long Lake when Long Lake was a candidate lake. So she knows John and I quite well. We've had good conversations and we do plan to catch up with her. But back to your earlier point, you're talking about adding Silver Lake to the monitoring. I didn't think about that, but for starting out the starting gate here, I looked at the $45,000 with just what I had and asked myself the question, should I add Silver Lake? And I thought, I don't know, this might be a tough one for them to swallow, the 45. I don't know about Silver, but the point is well taken, that beginning data collection from that lake. But one of the things that just comes to mind as we're talking about this is that I think before we talk to Valley Branch Watershed, maybe I should talk to Nancy County crew that samples Silver Lake. Maybe they would want to just expand their monitoring program under their county budget.
Thank you, Meg.
And it may not be necessary. This could be two separate, Washington County Lakes, Ramsey County Lakes, and kind of two separate things. So I will talk with them, those folks, and just kind of gauge interest and whether they would like to kind of beef up their program. They do a lot, and a little more might not hurt.
Very quickly, to the lake associations, cost of this monitoring equipment.
It's about 5,500, and I've told each of them what the cost.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, Lake Jane isn't here tonight, but Leanne said that their board had discussed it, so we have a budget for that. And we support the program, we'll figure out how to get the work done here. It's faster.
Silver Lake. Okay. Because we like to include if possible if we have managers to contend with. My opinion is, we do, I like this aggressive approach going after that.
So I do think, getting ahead of it is really important, and I think the data is a really good thing to start with. There's also consideration for cost, because you can't necessarily scale the amount of chemical you put into only 2 veligers, right? So you would have to do like a whole lake treatment right now to only take out 2 zebra mussels, and that's maybe not the most effective use of funds, but the data is probably very effective right now.
I'm with you. Very good. Okay. Quick question. Yes, sir.
So it sounds like our DNR is at least 5 years out. We're authorizing certificate for zebra mussels. Do you know where our states stand on this issue, right?
I do not. I do know that some states have approved and completed a whole lake treatment. They were small lakes. And they did the treatment, they did the data collection, the zebra mussels were fully removed. The zooplankton and the other things in the lake simply decline after the treatment. And so, yeah, but it's going to be at least 5 years, unless, of course, another research project came forth and the DNR were willing to conduct more than one research project at one time. And that question has not been asked. They said operational outside of a research project, they're not willing to consider until they evaluate the data from this one, and no one's asked them about another research project.
And they don't get the data, we don't monitor. Okay, keep a thought. Sir.
A couple of comments. One, I'm curious. I know that Mesa gets funding from the state. Do they have a grant program on all themselves, Mesa, for organizations like the Lake Association with technical oversight to actually take on the research themselves?
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer, but that seems like a good question I could ask Diane, the head of the Lake Riley Research Project, because they're using a major grant to fund the Lake Riley project. Initially, the first grant was 2025 pre-treatment and 2026 treatment, and then they've got another grant that covers 2027 and 2028 treatment, post-treatment plus report writing.
My other comment pertains to, I think, maybe a little bit in the words that we choose, but how we present these problems, because I think you can, you can get people really there of them they need to be. So, because I worked on invasive species stuff since the early 90s, including Mille Lacs. I was right up to my ears in Mille Lacs for many years, and then with the walleye fishing, that just reduced. Probably productivity maybe in half for a while. It's doing better now, but Mille Lacs had zebra mussels and it had spiny water fleet, both hitting the base of the food, right? So it was pretty devastating. And I'm not saying, nobody should think that I'm saying zebra mussels are acceptable. Okay, I'm not saying that's false. It's not. You can look around at a lot of lakes that have been database, and they still support very vibrant fisheries. Lake St. Croix is one, Lake Minnetonka, Pool 2, a number of others. In the Great Lakes, we've got Florida mussels and zebra mussels, yet we're seeing lake trout recover in northern Lake, and western Lake Huron and northern Lake Michigan, given all these invasive species is still there. So it's not, I just want to be careful that the doom and gloom doesn't just so. Yeah,
It's not so much that, you have a very good point, if you finished with your commentary. My opinion for the watershed's position, that we want to stay on top of everything before something goes wrong. And if we have the funding and we don't have some particular project like purchasing homes or something, other issues like involved, that this is something that we could potentially focus on. And that's with the assumption that there is not a lot of money poured into it, precious taxpayer money that we don't want to waste. So those are my thoughts. Mr. Brock.
I thought that maybe we could reprioritize the boat launch monitoring, but then I remembered, oh yeah, Silver Lake's the wrong side of the road. So do we work with Ramsey County? Or is that only Washington?
No,
President Marchand, Manager Brock, we do sample or do we contract with Washington Conservation District and they cover Silver Lake as well.
So well, then I'll ask my question. Could we work with Washington Conservation District to put a little higher priority Silver Lake in the future? From the reporting, we've had really good results with that monitoring program or the
More boat
inspection
launch,
program.
we did that, it went up last year, right? So it was over
the amount of
15,000.
monitoring. I
No,
believe
the cost of it. Monitoring, right?
if I heard that right, I believe the monitoring went down, but that's just my recollection of it. I think perhaps some of the reasons Silver Lake ranks low is because the volume of vehicles coming or boats coming in and out of the lake is relatively small, and that's been the criteria, I believe, for deciding which lakes get which priority. I would like to see something that did prioritize it, especially if we don't have zebra mussels, and this is an opportunity to reduce the chance that we do end up getting it in Silver Lake.
So the managers have anything else? By chance?
One comment I would make is that the criteria for whether the zebra mussel are impacting a lake certainly is heavily focused on on the fisheries, but there's other areas where it has impact in terms of clogging inputs and outputs for motor boats and making hazards for people swimming at beaches. So we want to consider those issues as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you for making that comment, Rick. And that's part of this. We know that it's not just for recreational fishing or maintaining our fish populations for many reasons. many more organisms, and I'd like to think that this monitoring that we may engage in, I don't want to get ahead of myself, is going to benefit many more organisms than what we're looking at initially, right?
Right, because zebra mussels do affect the whole ecosystem, but trying to targeting with the monitoring, we're trying to look at what can we measure. It's a little harder to measure, impacts to people's swimming and some other things, but we can collect a phytoplankton sample and look at the number of algae every year, and you can look at the types. Zebra mussels are kind of finicky. They won't eat blue greens because they don't like them, but they eat everything else. And what can happen if they can eat all the other good kind of algae, leaving only the blue greens, then they're fertilizing the lake and you can have a big blue green bloom. And I analyzed a sample from Lake Riley. They had a horrific blue green algal bloom just last summer. I was measuring more than 1 million blue green algae per milliliter, which is like a drop of water, and I had to do a lot of dilutions just to be able to accurately. And it was wet this year, but I have worked on that lake for 51 years, and I've never seen a blue green algae bloom like that in my 51 years. And so I gotta believe it's the zebra mussel. They've been in the lake about 7-8 years. And they've been coming up in numbers, and I think that it probably going maybe at the threshold where that can happen. And yeah, so that's kind of what we're focusing.
Yeah, there's some work out for it. So, they do, once the zebra mussel bed matures and they accumulate a lot of that civil feces, they start supporting a lot of filaments itself. Not from.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Kevin Smith, I'm with the Montreal Olson Lake Association. So I've had some conversations with Nick Phelps, who's the director of Maester, and so I can make a little bit of a comment on the question about Maester. So the issue with, this current graduate student being finished, and that is definitely a limiting step in doing this research. So in my conversations with them, I assume they would need to get another graduate student on board to do this sort of project. And for that, they would probably have to write a grant to get that funded. So the way I think it relates to this situation is that if, there's a group of lake associations in this partnership collecting this data, that would be pretty strong evidence or a pretty good case that they could make to get grant funding to bring on a student to help do that research. So, I would say it'd be a really good idea to maintain a communication between Maester and this group, so that they know what's going on and take advantage of that if that's the case. The other thing that I've learned with just conversations with them is that there will be a lot more information coming out about methods of treating. They've done sort of this meta-analysis of lots of different lakes that have treatments, and they have very variable results. Some good, some bad, mostly not good. But I think what they've learned so far is that there are things you can do to really tailor the application of the chemical in terms of the time of year, the temperature of the water, that sort of thing, that actually can make it quite effective in low doses. And so that's not data that they've sort of fleshed out and published yet, but I think it's safe to say that in the next couple of years, we'll learn a lot more about what the treatment options might be once we know more about what's happening in this lake system.
That is fascinating. That's analogous to my sneaking in samples of garlic to my wife's spaghetti sauce. You haven't get caught. So, with all that said, if no one has anything else to move on to get this squared away. Tonight, Mr. Engineer, we have a consideration. Okay, so we don't have to provide an answer, but we can follow up on this, and you folks clearly know what my position is on this. And we need to get the managers on board and make decisions and understand what our budget is and how we can apply it. And so with that further information, we can not just make a consideration, but come up with solutions on how we're going to go about this. But I'm all for doing this. And the data is going to help, including not pointing at you, man, but Silver Lake. So this is a big deal, and there's a lot of things that we're wrestling with, and we want to attack everything. You know. Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to make a comment?
Please.
When we heard from the president of the Lake and the Lake Association. We would totally support what you're recommending and getting the equipment. I'm sure we don't have much money, but I've already done and I can keep them. I'm just thinking. If we approach certain people that live on the lake, that they would be more than willing to maybe make a one-time donation. And what Meg's asking us to do on this monitoring isn't difficult. I used to do it for the job I had.
Right.
And I'm just gonna say, I was hired to monitor lakes back in 1990 in Washington County. And it's amazing, when we started this program, everybody was kind of reporting it. But as we moved on, and within the last 30 years, having this kind of data is immensely important to have. So anything that we can collect, I think, is extremely important for us to collect. And yeah,
You sold me.
I figured I did. But it's just good information. I think.
We wholeheartedly agree. I guess all the managers agree. So at this point, with looking from the managers, we will speak with our engineer and make decisions to see how soon we may or may not, just to be fair, implement these requested manager actions. Does that appeal to the managers? Rick?
Yes.
See me? Sorry, Rick. Okay. So we should leave it at that for now. But we are optimistic and we want to do something, so. There's nothing further. Hopefully you folks will hang around for the rest of the show. We try to entertain you. Okay. Ms. Bank, thank you very much. We love your company and we love what you do for us, honestly. Okay. Sir, thank you for doing that. I'm glad you didn't volunteer for making payments or something.
I'd have to get after him if you did that.
Oh, my God.
Like president.
We have that. Need a motion update. Okay. All your permission, we have the 2026 and 2035 Watershed Management Plan. Wait, is that? Yeah, that's what we're doing next. Greg, your turn. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. What was included in your packet is a 99.5% complete draft. There's a couple fill in the blanks that we still need to get ironed out, but for the most part, it is a complete version of the plan that is close to ready for the 60-day review, which is the next step in the process, consistent with Minnesota Statutes 103B. It goes out for a 60-day review. Plan review agencies, which include the state agencies, cities, townships, counties, SWCDs, can all provide written comment. We have to respond to the written comments, revise the plan, send it back out, meet with the Bowser subcommittee. They like the plan, they recommend approval to the Bowser board. They approve the plan, you adopt the plan, that whole process. About 7 months, and the memo that was included with the package, which plan kind of lays that out on the back page. The content that you have not seen at previous meetings that is included in this version includes the executive summary, the very brief summary at the beginning, some revised goals, and then the last sub-watershed sections, which are sections 5.31 through 5.38. A note about the revised goals. Back at the end of summer, you authorized us to send in a draft to Bowser board conservationist at the time, Michelle Jordan, to get feedback on the draft plan. She has since left Bowser, but before she left, she did provide feedback on the measurable goals.
Okay.
citing that many of them were not sufficiently measurable by Bowser's standards. So John and I met with Barb Peichel, who is the Bowser stand-in for Michelle through the remainder of this process. We talked to her through some of the goals. And then what's included in this version of the plan, around page 45, is a table that presents all of the draft goals in the plan. The original, as well as our proposed revision to try and make it more measurable. This format that's included in the plan is intended to show the changes. That's not how it would be presented in the final plan. Whatever changes we do or do not, or you do or do not agree with, they would be presented as the goals of the plan. However, they're presented here side by side so you can see what has changed. For the most part, there's some just minor, most part, they're minor additions to add the means by which progress would be evaluated. So in some cases, that includes specifying what the outcome of the goal is, or like, so some of the goals, for example, I'll say like goal 2A is to understand, the original was to understand the conditions of our priority water bodies relative to fluoride pollution and the sources of fluoride. And the goal has been revised to increase the understanding of conditions of VBWT priority water bodies relative to fluoride pollution, ... through a study and expanded monitoring. So Bowser agreed that by specifying the means by which you want to do that, that makes it more measurable, because you can say, well, what did we do to accomplish that goal? We performed a study, we increased our monitoring. So there's a metric that you can track towards it. That's the same type of edit that's been made to a lot of these goals, where the content of the goal isn't changed as much as it's just adding a little bit of detail about what we're going to do to achieve it. Yeah. Oh, up on the table.
No, from Secretary Brock on a question.
Yeah, just a quick question on that. What would you envision the study to entail? I mean, I'm just curious, is this a research? I mean, I know this is just plan, but just.
The study itself is described in greater detail in the implementation table. Okay, that lists all the activities that are included as part of this plan. The study is intended to be kind of a GIS-based desktop analysis of land use within the watershed. Yeah. And there are a couple other targeted monitoring efforts. And I think there was an action that's in there about meeting with the different land use authorities to get their input on where they consider the hot spots to be. So that's those activities are already in the implementation program.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does the manager have any other questions, comments? Rick?
Muted.
You muted.
Hey, Rick, you are muted.
Come in, Rick.
Could you unmute?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I did have one comment. When and this is regarding 5.33, basically the Rose Lake assessment towards the end. And at first when I started reading it, I was a little concerned. I saw some facts about the potential for a problem for somewhere around 500 people in terms of the impact of a sewer system failure that would impact Rose Lake. As I read further on, I saw more detail in it. I was pleased to see that. I guess considering that we're sending a letter to the Metropolitan Council, I wonder if even emphasizing it a little bit more might make sense. And this is more a question to the other managers if they think that's sufficient. What we're seeing in 5.33, in 33.2, and actually towards the end, like Yeah, 5.33.3. It's on the screen now. I guess I guess the big thing that I would want to see is that there's kind of this extended impact, the impact on, a large number of residents if that septic system fails. And that has a major impact on many people, or has the potential to have a major impact. And it seems like, having that in our plan as a reason for our concern about Rose Lake, not that that's not showing already, but just to emphasize it perhaps a little bit more. Other comments on that?
Rick, I know which one you're referring to.
Yeah.
Sort of
Okay, it's
language.
the Cimarron facility.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
As Manager Gelman pointed out, the last statement there, so that this section 533.3 outlines kind of what the management actions are for this sub-watershed. And the last line there says the VVWD will continue to encourage Cimarron Park to connect to municipal stormwater and abandon its sewage treatment system to prevent flooding and the need for emergency pumping. Potentially, you could go beyond that to add a statement that should additional issues regarding water quality arise as a result of this system, VVWD could do X, Y, or Z. Likely, would keep it general of could assess the need for additional management actions or something like that. So it's to at least leave the door open to acknowledge that Valley Branch could do more if there's a problem in the future, not necessarily committing Valley Branch to it, but highlighting that that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I like that word.
I guess I misunderstood. Manager Gelman, I thought your suggestion was to kind of beef up the language of why Valley Branch Watershed District is encouraging Cimarron to be connected to sewer.
Thank you. Yes, it's the consequences of sewer system failure, not necessarily that Valley Branch would be the one to take additional action. Although we need to be concerned, I think our major role is to alert people of the potential hazard. And that it is other agencies that need to step forward to resolve it before it becomes a problem.
In that case, I misunderstood. In that case, I would revise that last statement to acknowledge that it's not only that flooding and need for emergency pumping, but also water quality and public health concerns.
Yes, yes.
And the consequences of flooding are that there'll be 500 people that can't use water.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Rick. Any
Or toilets.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's my main comment. I want to add though that I like the format that this plan is in. I think it's very readable, and if people don't want to go through the entire document and they've got specific concerns about a specific sub-watershed, it's easy for people to get to that and get the information they need. Thank you.
This is a lot of work, clearly.
Well, with this suggested, wording change that we just discussed for Rose Lake, I would like to, offer motion that we will just plan to get a review.
Let's second that.
It's been moved and seconded.
Armstrong, I think.
For,
Manager Marshon, aye.
Manager Brock, aye.
Henry Geldman, aye.
Very good. 60-day review. Very good, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now,
Great job.
good job, Rick. That's what we wanted to add. Yeah, it's a lot of work, Greg, and thank you very much for what you're doing for us.
Thank you for your review. And just the submittal process, it's all electronic now, so we'll just upload it to the website and then there'll be an email that goes out with a link to the review.
Beautiful.
Great. Thank you, Greg. That's a major accomplishment.
And I hope your drive was through that problematic.
Not at all.
That's all so fun, right? Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate this. It's a lot of, I actually read it.
It's easier when it's not 1,500 pages.
I don't know how Rick found that. I'm kidding. I just, you know, I look at with semantics, spelling, and how would I reword it? Because essentially, I don't always have something to add, although this is very important because this is a critical concern. What we're doing. It's the wrong thing.
Okay, and we can make changes throughout the 60-day review is intended to get other people's comments, but you can also make changes to the plan, you know, for example, if you decide to move forward with anything related to zebra mussels, you can edit the plan to reflect that sort of thing. So.
Very good, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Let's move on to safe drive, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Proposal for rule change language amendment, floodplain preservation and uses. You're up, Josh.
All right, managers, as you may recall, a few weeks ago, we had the workshop for some of the proposed rule language for floodplain preservation, specifically easements for floodplain preservation. Following the workshop, Attorney Tori Kelm really gets a lot of the credit here. She worked on drafting the updated language here. Susanna reviewed it. John and I both reviewed it. Had a few tweaks along the way, but ultimately landed on the language that's included in this memo. So as you flip through, there's the current language, the proposed language that's redlined, and then also the clean version of proposed language. Just as a quick refresher, there was John's kind of pulling the table up behind you, but in the table there's the direction that we received generally from the managers was that there was interest in the option 3C, if you may recall, and then some interest in option 4. This is a slight hybrid of the two, and I think really the flow chart that Attorney Kelm developed is really helpful in understanding this. So
thank you. Who was behind that? The flow chart?
Attorney Kelm, Tori.
That's okay. No. Please tell the story. Please tell the story for us. Okay. So that's important, and hopefully we can include that whenever we have something written up. This is a really hands-on approach to this, so it'll help us make decisions about what we're going to do.
Yeah. So I think tonight, we're not changing the rules tonight, but we are looking for your feedback on whether this is sufficient for what you want to do. I know this is a little bit of a hybrid, like I said, of those two options, and there was some slight differing of opinion, and that's okay within the board here, but wanted to get the group's feedback on if this is generally the direction you'd like us to proceed, or if you'd like us to take this back and further tweak it or consider additional edits.
I'd like to turn to Mr. Brock.
I agree. This is a very good reflection of the entire workshop and our discussions and kind of where we landed. I do got one concern, and that's where with the work in the floodplains, that aspect of it.
Sure.
Then the Henry residence one would be a good example for what my concern would be, where say you've got a stormwater outlet that enters the 100-year flood elevation.
Yep.
And stable outlet would be down below there a little bit, but they're gonna say, ooh, if I go down there to where a stable outlet is, I gotta do all this stuff. I'm gonna stop my work right up here. And then we're gonna, potentially have a problem by not extending it where it needed to be. That's my only, my concern about, one of those unintended consequences of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just a comment, something maybe, you don't want to get into variances or, but maybe it. But anyway, that was one comment is one big, not sure how to deal with it. And I know things are already getting complicated as far as flow charts and everything else, and I'm not looking to
So,
complicate it more, but
Josh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Very briefly, paraphrase what Mr. Bach is,
Oh, sure. So what I'm hearing from you is just the concern that because this easement, an easement would not be required based on this proposal if there is no work in the floodplain. But for example, a project could occur where the only work that would be in the floodplain is a new storm sewer outfall that drains to a low area or something like that. A permit applicant could try to skirt the work in the floodplain by pulling that pipe out of the floodplain slightly, away from whatever the out of the low area or waterway would be, so that they would not be required to do easements. But that could also open the door for an erosive channel to happen between that outfall and the waterway. There is some of that actually that happens with wetlands. We see similar efforts by applicants. In some cases, it's fine. In some cases, it could cause the same problems potentially. But that is certainly good feedback and good input to consider as a potential unintended consequence.
so possible language to reflect that, or how you take this part of generalizing how we deal with this.
To me, I think that's great feedback, but it's likely more of a case by case or more of an effort on our end as part of review of future projects than something that gets incorporated as language is my initial thought.
All right, gentlemen, Rick, anybody, anything further on this?
I've got a comment.
Yes.
Regarding the example 2025-25. It's again that culvert. Yes, this one. The culvert is is connecting two wetlands or connecting two areas, and relatively minor, but I see all these other wetlands that then need to be delineated or indicated as being having being restricted in terms of the I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the easement. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's some way to limit the extent of the area in an individual property where the easement would be required. Some of what bothers me about it is that, okay, you go across a property boundary line and there's no easement on that side. I'm not sure what purpose it serves to do the entire property. I know it's difficult to kind of define what that is, or which area needs to be have an easement. But it seems to be excessive.
Yeah, Kelvin, I think my my response to that would be that there is still a level of engineering judgment that occurs with permit reviews, in every permit to some extent.
Yeah.
I think the distinction of whether there is work or in the floodplain or not, could potentially be interpreted by us as your engineer that the culvert replacement that's circled in yellow is work within one of those floodplains. And that area of floodplain would be where that easement is required. That's a potential interpretation. Could also be an interpretation that if there's work in any floodplain on your property, all of the floodplain needs to be in easements. So I think there is some wiggle room just in the sense of how the rule is specifically interpreted. I guess if that is a common feedback from the board here, we could also kind of similar to the last one, have some of that engineering judgment and work with permittees or permit applicants when those permits are submitted.
Something that I think maybe should be used to clarify whether or not all of those wetlands should have easements placed on them or not, is what is our purpose in getting the easement for that one area? And if we're looking to collect easements on all floodplains in the watershed district, then we ought to be collecting the boundaries on all of those. But I didn't hear that at the workshop. I think it was something less than that. We need to have a specific reason that we're doing that. And so I like the notion of having some kind of a probably engineering decision. Where is the boundary within the property for that wetland and or for that floodplain, so that we're limiting it to that particular area.
Yeah, that's great. I think we can consider at a future rule update, just making sure that we list and clarify the purpose of this as well.
And copy Ms. Tori on that?
Yep.
Okay,
They will be involved.
thank you. Plenty of trouble. All right.
Is there any other feedback from others on the proposed rule?
No, sir, I am done. Anyone, nothing? Okay.
Not from
So
me.
we gave us.
Sure.
Thank you, Rick. We
Thanks.
gave you some. Presents us again, and there's possibly a language change, and of course, if attorney Kelm, I'm sorry, being copied, and of course, discussed with engineer John.
An actual rule change is a little bit more of a process, so and I think would incorporate other things as well. But I think it's a great step to have an understanding of how you'd like to proceed with this piece of it, because this is a fairly significant component.
Very good, sir.
Thank you.
And don't forget the flow chart. I love that. But haven't ever. Right? Yeah. Behaving. All right. Thank you, sir. You're excused if you like. I don't know what you
Stick around for a few more.
Good, thank you. We love the company. We discussed that. Now the flood levels of the Legion Pond and Horseshoe Lake. Are you here for that, sir, or? Just to bring up something quickly. Was the issue over the purchase of your home, I believe?
Yeah, well, I've been in touch with Suzanne.
Okay, so this will,
We won't, oh, go ahead.
this will fall under, attorney. Yeah, okay, so it's all right with you.
Yeah.
But you might like this one.
I didn't like it the first time.
No, it's
2020.
Okay, so we're talking about the flood potential. Legion Pond portion, like just simply might be able to write you order.
I'm leaving.
Not before.
Got any more? I'm leaving, so I don't.
We don't need no stand.
And it can go up all the way to the road as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. All right. John, please lead us into that discussion.
Sure. Mr. President, managers, you might recall that the Watershed District Board has authorized BAR to update the hydrologic and hydraulic modeling of various subwatersheds within the district. Been doing that for over 10 years. What's included in a packet is a short memo from Jay Hawley. Because of the length of tonight's meeting, I suggested that Jay not attend and give a detailed overview of this because there's really no action for the managers. It's just information only. Quick, the model has been updated for Legion Pond and for Horseshoe Lake. A lot of the modeling for Legion Pond had been done through that comprehensive study with the Corps, but since then, Jay has updated it even more with a longer duration of climate data and addressing some of the groundwater inflow outflow issues. Did all this modeling, ran statistics, came up with the 1% probability flood level, and those are listed in the memo here. And so there's no action for the managers to take tonight. It's just, like I said, informational.
Where does the S? I'm talking about.
XP Swim.
How does that fit?
That's the modeling software that Jay uses. Yep. And Jay is planning to be at the Minnesota Watersheds Conference if you'd like to ask him any details about this.
Okay, very good. And including you, Nick. Questions about that? Hearing anything? We'll move on to the draft letter to Dr. Gail Teeterberg. This is an interesting letter that I wrote. I like giving your emphasis, the manager input goes welcome. But Rick, you're clearly aware of this. But I'll give them the green light, and this is something that's important to the Met Council, you know, aside from the fact that it is important. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I don't suggest any changes. So
one comment I have, and I'm not sure, well, I understand that the Metropolitan Council chair is changing as of, I believe, December 1st. And it may be useful to make sure that we're sending it to the new chair, or maybe CCing the old chair as well, so that both are aware, or the new chair receives it and sees it as something that they need to look at. How do other people think about that?
yes, definitely. I was clearly unaware of that. And I'm glad you are. You have some connections, I gather.
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah,
Very helpful.
Received a newsletter that had that information in it.
So you believe that this is language that will, how shall I say, beneficially by the incoming chair?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think so. I think that would be valuable to have them be aware of the issue and, look to take active action on this. And I think there's areas of equity as well as, just the environmental safety issues. Both can be impacted by this, and having Metropolitan Council, see that they have a major role in it and take action would be great. So I think the letter, I'm glad to see that.
Thank you, Rick. Anything further?
Not from me.
Thank you, sir. Any comment? Okay. Very good. We're going to move on. John, please keep that and send it out to the appropriate personnel.
I will do. Thank you.
Okay. Minnesota Watershed Annual Conference. My understanding is that we are to keep the documents that you provided herein and use them to our benefit. And you have some questions about what we need to do.
Yes, Mr. President, there are a couple things. So first of all, you've been registered for lodging as shown on the table in the memo. So all of the managers Wednesday through Friday, except Vice President Piera, Tuesday through Friday. And the confirmation numbers are listed in that table. The two things that are needed tonight would be one, determine who your voting delegate will be, your primary, secondary, and alternate, I guess is maybe how they call it. And then two, if you're planning to attend any workshops on Wednesday, let me know which ones so that I can get you registered. The workshops on Wednesday, they're in the thick packet, but just to kind of remind you, there's one on drainage, and that tends to really be focused for managers in the Red River Valley, not so much for, it's not very applicable to Valley Branch Watershed District. There's one on management, and that tends to really be focused on new managers. I believe some of you have attended that in the past. So that you can always learn something, but it's really geared more for new managers rather than managers that have been on the board for a while. Then there's one on staff development, and that one's somewhat geared for administrators that deal with HR issues and the family leave policy and those kind of things. So it's not super relevant to Valley Branch Watershed District. And then there's one on staff technical workshop. And that again is kind of more geared for staff, but there are probably of the 4 workshops, that might be the one that's most relevant to something that you might be able to take away and use in Valley Branch Watershed District.
What time by chance that one now?
All of these workshops run concurrently.
Yeah.
And so the registration and continental breakfast is from 8 until 9 a.m. in the morning. And then the workshop starts at 9. There's a lunch, and they all wrap up around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The technical staff one, since I mean, you could attend any of these, but that one to me seems like it might be the most applicable to Valley Branch Watershed District. That one, they're talking about project process and financing, permanent BMP maintenance, calcareous fens, fisheries programs, watershed project sharing, just to share what everybody's doing. So if you have ideas on which workshop you'd like to attend, you don't have to attend any workshop, but if you'd like to attend one, let me know and I'll get you registered for that. So that's one thing. And then, as I said, you need to determine who the delegates will be.
We'll do card.
Same here.
Okay.
I'll tackle it.
You guys are wonderful. 1 and 2.
Do you plan to attend it?
Won't be there.
Okay.
Here before 9 a.m.
Yep. Do you plan to attend any workshop? Sometime soon. I think probably plenty of time, as long as you have lodging, which you do. So that's usually the most critical.
John, I do not plan to attend the Wednesday workshops.
Okay.
I'll be there. I'll arrive Wednesday later in the day.
Yeah, one issue is typically you can't officially check into your hotel until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you might have to leave your bag in your car or bring it into some warm place that things don't freeze.
Okay, thank you.
6. Go ahead. That'll be by this time. That's someone who do the other ones, is that what we did?
Yeah, it's a little bit odd that they have the caucuses Wednesday night because they also overlap with a lot of the trade show activities. The trade show overlaps with the caucuses. The trade show overlaps with the caucuses and and I don't know if they're providing meals during the caucus because but I can look into that, but yeah, typically we have dinner together on the Wednesday night.
Yeah, my goal is to try and be there before 9.
Well, let's talk and you can
Yes,
let me
sir.
know.
We're good to go on everything.
Nope, delegates.
Oh.
Whatever. The group size.
That's kind of delegated.
So what I heard is Vice President Ferreira will be 1, Secretary Brock will be 2, and President Marchand will be the alternate.
Yes.
Okay,
Enough, Rick?
yes.
What is the duty of the delegate? I don't even know.
Well, you can go.
To establish a forum. If you don't get that critical number of delegates, kind of a business meeting. In theory.
Hey,
Yeah.
question, how far is it from Alexandria?
So if you're a delegate.
You know,
Well, this is not in Alexandria, this is in Nisswa. How far is Nisswa from Alexandria, or how far?
no way.
No, between Alexandria and Nisswa. It's not.
Just two different directions.
No, I know that. Taking a visit, some particular place in Alexandria. Just a thought.
Might not be the best use of your time, but it is up to you.
It's an hour and 47 minutes.
From. Okay. All right. Now are we squared away?
Yes, thank you.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much.
Business meeting is Friday morning from 8 until 11. Yep. So if you're not a delegate, you can leave right away after breakfast Friday morning. If you're a delegate, you should be there for the business meeting from 8 until 11. Then the board meeting that Don would be attending starts at 11.
All right. Anything further?
Thank you.
Squared away. Greg, you look alert.
Hello? What did you say?
I said you look alert, and it's a 2-hour difference, right?
At times you're cutting out here.
Our batteries are running low because of the long meeting.
Ah, okay.
I know, man.
And by the way, this clock is on daylight savings, so.
Yeah, we know. Okay, Attorney Torsa, you're up.
Great. If the managers don't mind, I'm gonna flip flop my memo discussion. So I discussed the landmass property positions first, so that the.
Yes, thank you.
But just a minute.
Yeah.
So really, I just wanted the managers to have an update. Really, nothing significantly different. The one change is that the Winkles have requested, so the way that the purchase agreement is drafted is they have until June first, on or before June first to close. They have indicated they would like to plan on a closing on January 5th. And the way that the purchase agreement is drafted is they got a big amount of earnest money. When the purchase agreement was signed, they got 25% of the total purchase price. The way the agreement is drafted, they would have to vacate, be out of the property completely by January 5th, but whatever the date of closing is. The request to the managers is they would like to amend the purchase agreement so that they could extend the possession of the property until May 31st, even though the closing would occur January 5th. So they would receive all the money for the home, but they would retain possession of the home until May 31st, with the understanding they would need to keep insurance and pay whatever water, heat, whatever needs to be done. So that is the request before the managers. I didn't draft a purchase agreement. It's just, if that's something you're inclined to do, we'll draft the amendment and come back for that in December. My only thought, question is when would Bar Engineering think that the house could maybe be demolished? Right, because I don't think the district wants to purchase them just to hang on to them and let them be there, right? The goal is to demolish them when you can.
Okay, just a couple of items before you, done your chop job in there?
No,
Yeah.
and that's part of the hang up. We're packing already. We're the 7th, and we intend to move that day. But we're gonna deconstruct some of the house.
Right.
I'm working with a contractor with Habitat for Humanities, that it's gonna take, doors
Right.
and all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
They work on their own schedule. And we found a property, quite honestly, sooner than I thought we would.
Excellent.
So that being said, we're just requesting the extra time because I think you said it at one of the meetings. I don't want to see all this hard work going to a landfill.
You're right.
There's things we can use or donate. I just assume do that.
Of course. So we all benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my standard question, I ask this all the time, especially for our attorney. What's the risk with what this gentleman's requesting?
Well, the risk is that someone gets injured and the district owns the property. So that's where the insurance is helpful. It's not foolproof, but it is, the intention would be that their insurance would cover it. The district has also been having people sign waivers, and that's my office 2 days yesterday, before being able to enter a property that the district now owns, to remove anything or to work, acknowledging that they're entering the property at their own risk and taking responsibility.
No problem.
So
Just be technical.
so we're mitigating, it's not foolproof,
We
but we're mitigating the risk to the district is what I need to tell you.
Considering this option,
He's asking you to consider this option.
yeah. I'd like to say that we're on board. I'll ask the other managers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like a very reasonable request to me.
And if we need to sign waiver,
And
that's fine.
exactly, that's,
And
there's
I'll
always,
decide the insurance.
there's always a risk concern.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so you're gonna draft some language. Come back the next,
To do so, absolutely. That's the direction.
can we do it sooner? Or does this require?
No, normally you would have your second meeting of the month, but that's Thanksgiving week, so
Right.
that's gonna be canceled. So it'll be in the first week in December.
Okay,
But if I could ask Engineer Hanson, any thoughts on? No.
Well,
houses.
Well, Mr. Winkle's next door neighbor is the one that's kind of, the Valley Branch doesn't take possession until that one until like June. So the goal, no, the goal is to try to do as many as we can over the winter. And then come back and do the remaining one and touch up work in the spring. We're meeting, excuse me, to give the managers update, we're meeting with, excuse me, the city of Lake Elmo to get a better understanding. First, confirm that they don't want it to be a park. We've talked to them before and they said that they don't, but I want to ask one more time because it seems like a great location for a park. And then to ask them about how they'd like the properties restored, whether it's a park or not, dealing with the driveways, the curb cuts. Right now, if you remember, there's what we call a hammerhead almost at the end of the dead end. Do they want, if the board decides to resell the property, would they like additional land so that they could someday make that into a cul-de-sac kind of thing? So those kind of details, we're coordinating with them to have that meeting so that Engineer Phillips can finish up the plans, get it out for bid, and bring the bid results to the managers.
Okay. Is that good enough? Counselor, you're hereby directed. You cool?
And so,
Sir.
no, I just
So,
tagging on the waiver will be after the event.
yeah. For closing.
Yep.
So. So you can review it.
Sure.
Doable.
I'll have to make my finance people aware of it just to make sure it won't affect anything, and obviously won't. And then I'll start the insurance as of January 5. And then the other thing is I paid the assessments today. And I scan and send you a copy of that receipt from the city. Okay, perfect. Yep, those are all paid out. All right, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thank you, Suzanne.
Last one. Are we happy?
When I come to these meetings.
Really?
No.
Oh, you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a beautiful evening.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you too. Thank you. Thank you. Next one.
I'm sorry, I should have changed the title. It's in the proposal for the space declaration that's already been approved by the managers.
Good.
So this is frankly a pretty old permit. The hang up, this will refresh your memory. This is one with HUD where there's a mortgage. HUD won't agree to subordinate. So basically the district said, fine, we'll be okay with the language because it's pretty minimal that HUD's gonna foreclose anyway. The problem that we're having now, the problem the permit holder is having now is they just can't get any response whatsoever from HUD. This has been signed by everybody but HUD. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
Take a little minute. I'm really just giving you an update. I haven't been asked by the permit holder to do anything special or unique or different. But they have asked me to reach out to HUD to see if they'll respond to me, which I've done. I got no response, which I wasn't really surprised by. But that's the update. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask, but I just want,
Gentlemen,
it's been a long time.
Rick, can you see me?
Yeah. I don't have any questions on it. Sorry to hear that HUD is not responding.
Yeah, my first thought had been to say, okay, this don't require HUD to acknowledge at all. Just record what they've signed and close out the permit. The risk of that is that if it foreclosed, then there's nothing. Right, then a future owner would have no requirement to do the stormwater maintenance, the stormwater management. So.
Yeah.
So I'm not making that recommendation, but
Okay.
that's what I got for now.
Wait, and see.
Yep.
All right. with, what is it, consternation or anything like that.
Mm-mm. No, I just know that, I mean, they've been trying. They haven't been without effort on the permit holders' part. It's stonewall.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you very much, Dan. Very nice of you. Okay. Inspector. Yeah, tell us something good.
Are you ready? President Reich, there's a report on the pack. Do you have any questions? If you have questions, I'm glad to address them.
In the interest of time, I'm okay with everything. It's getting cooler. We're having less problems that I'm aware of.
We're working on permit closeouts
Yes,
with engineer Phillips. And other than that, trying to close as many permits as we can if they're ready. We're late in the season, so if the vegetation is not established now, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
So
No pumpkin rolling,
no pumpkin rolling this week, no.
barley,
Apparently,
I recall. Okay.
yeah.
Well, very good then. Do the managers have any questions? Rick?
I do not have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Bill.
Cool.
But I'm cool. I got you. Okay, managers. Lower St. Croix Watershed Partnership Policy Committee. This is the one I attended. And this was regarding, something about forgive me for not, giving you a half hour. Regarding the upgrades for the stormwater systems and how, paying attention to some of these problems. One of these things was characterized by a dumpster outside of a retail outlet, and it was set in an enclosure, and it was conveniently next to storm drain. So when they cleaned it, everything went in there. Well, they talked about making changes to see if we can alleviate problems like that. That's what I have on that. Forgive me for not providing more, but I believe Commissioner Miracle was there, and I don't believe Commissioner Cox was there.
He was.
She was? Okay, I didn't see her.
He said she was. She said she was.
So that's essentially what I have. I wish I could give you more. I guess if you want more information, we can. So I'll look back. Yes. Bill Trevor. I believe he is, yes. Thank you. Landlocked properties acquisition update.
Been done.
Wrong one. How about Washington County Budget Workshop? John and I attended that. It was wonderful. We were to some extent lauded for the work that we do. This was all the watersheds, including WCD, who were present. And we had nice conversations with people. Commissioner Cox came out and spoke to us and thanked us for attending. And it actually went quite smoothly. And there were some questions from Commissioner Ramsey County. I can't remember his name right now. You know what I'm talking about. Silver Lake, he owns a little piece of Silver Lake, you know.
Oh.
And pronounce it properly.
On Ramsey for the county commissioner in Washington County Board
No.
workshop?
Could it have been Leon Lilly?
No,
He's a state representative.
not at all. Anyway,
Oh, Commissioner Kowalski?
Kowalski,
Kowalski.
that's why. Okay. He was there, and he had some questions, but for the most part, everybody had answers, and they talked about CIPs, capital improvement projects. and it all went swimmingly. I didn't have to talk, fortunately. And, that's all I have on that. And, one more item. I attended Monday's, open house, and this is, meet and greet sort of thing. The fair was kind of good.
This was with Washington Conservation District.
It was
Just
Washington. And I ended up having a very nice conversation with Jay Riggs. I thought it was extremely useful. I received valuable information about how he runs the operation, how they're funded, what they do. And we're looking to, at least I am, to have another meeting with him to discuss how we can benefit each other with plans about our future and what goals we had. I also talked to Alyssa Thompson, who had also been in discussions with John Hanson about the cost share programs. And I think she's doing a wonderful job, and she's providing us with added information so that when we bring this to the table again, make changes or to discuss ways to make this potentially more efficient use of our taxpayer money. She has ideas that can benefit us. And so I welcome her at our next meeting, and I think she's going to be an asset. So, and John's already been discussing things with her, so this might even be a moot point. So that's essentially what I have on that. Anything further, Rick? Anything about Vegas or anything?
Oh, we've had some wonderful trips here. We went out to Monument Mountain and Zion, and beautiful weather there. I noticed you were, yeah, in this as high as the 70s. I noticed you were wearing long pants, Sid. What you got for temperatures there?
Well, we're having like a mini heat wave, but it's still.
Yeah, I'm concerned about what I'm going to come back to.
It's going to be cold, relatively speaking, because
yes,
it's warm. Yeah. But at night it probably dips down 40, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, about 40, somewhere around there. I ran today, so beautiful day to run.
That's wonderful.
Nothing else from me.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
One quick thing, as long as we have Rick on the right there.
Yeah.
We paid Lake Elmo for the water bills in this meantime, but we also have a past due bill on one of the water bills, and so they bumped up the price that they're Louis owe because it's past.
Oh no.
So who do you want me to give this card to?
Yeah, get it to me. Either if you can take a picture of it and then give it to me the next time, or email me the picture, text it to me or something.
Got it.
I'll make sure it gets in the works for payment the December payment.
Yeah, just be whatever the difference is. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Rick. Information only. Our share tracking program, they're almost at the end. What is it? I think we have under 8,000 left. We just wrote a check to WCD. Is that my understanding? For 30 grand? Did I sign the check today for that amount?
It was a big one, yeah, and I'm a little confused on their invoice going through. I mean, it was. And I was gonna talk to Rick about that in my labor meetings tonight.
Okay.
Because. And hold off their payment. Yeah.
Okay.
Theirs is very difficult to track.
Yeah, I think it's close to look at that one, would you? Very good. But yeah. Oh.
Okay, future business, Minnesota Watershed Annual Conference, Granview Lodge in Nispon, September 3 to 5. And That indicates to attend December 11th, 2025 meeting and January 8th meeting, 2026. I assume we'll have a quorum. Very good.
Yes.
Okay. He's going to sheep hunting in Mongolia or something. That's pretty easy. You get any contact?
Not till the end of January. Then we'll be out of here.
Very good.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
Moved in second.
strong eye.
For, Andrew Marshall, aye.
Andrew Brock, aye.
Manager Gelman, aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much.
Mm-hmm. Okey-doke. Well, good night, all.